Well, friends, it's Friday the 21st, and I couldn't wait to get today because I want to read the rest of this rung of action and hear about Stephen Charleston's piece about Native American religion, which I told you yesterday. I will leave room for people of other faith traditions, but I will share my response as a Native American. What do? They do the unexpected. Totally love that. So, we're picking up there. Traditional Native American spiritual systems operate on an unexpected principle. It is not important to make sure everyone believes in exactly the same way. It is important, however, to make sure everyone celebrates what they believe together. This approach to religion is disorganized because it is a matter of our personal piety, not an institutional dogma. But it is also highly communal because everyone takes part in the annual cycle of spiritual ceremonies. These ceremonies are focused on the one thing everyone in the community shares, even if their spiritual beliefs are varied: hope. The hope for rain, the hope for a good harvest, the hope for good health, the hope for love. The disorganized religion of Native America allows people to hold different opinions but feel spiritually connected through a shared hope. In this way, everyone is affirmed. Everyone sees themselves in the religious practice of the community, but without coercion or demands for conformity. To understand the Native American religious system more clearly, consider this. Why do Native Americans dance so much? The ceremonies I describe are all dances. Every traditional Native American religious calendar has ceremonial dances that must be maintained. The green corn dance, the stomp dance, the sun dance, the snake dance. The list goes on, but the same principle is at work. The dances focus on what we all hope for together, and that's the point. Celebrating what we hope for together is better than fighting over what we believe separately. Individual belief is interpretation. None of us, even members of the same organized religion, believes in exactly the same way. We interpret the meaning of our creeds. We cross our fingers behind our backs on some parts of the dogma and ardently embrace others. Native American spiritual systems take this kind of individual interpretation for granted and do not allow it to become the focal point of religion. Doing so would only invite people to argue endlessly about their differences instead of coming together to celebrate their similarities. Organized religion is built on conforming to dogma Organized religion is built on conforming to dogma, which results in conflict. It encourages exclusion. It opens the door to abuse by the institution. In contrast, disorganized religion tolerates the individual differences, emphasizes communal celebrations of shared hopes, and draws people together. It gives them room to breathe spiritually and allows them to see themselves in the worship of the people. In traditional Native American spiritual systems, people can still disagree about interpretations, but because there is no compulsion to believe in exactly the same way, these arguments almost never take center stage. Instead, dance takes that place in the community's religious life. Dance is at the center because it is both a collective expression of every person's hopes and an open invitation for people to participate alongside their brothers and sisters in faith, however they interpret it. And here's a Facebook post. Drum of the Sacred. The echo is still there. Go out at night to stand beneath the stars, far from the noise of the city, out to where the air is fresh with sage and the earth is still damp with rain. Listen, you can hear it. Listen, it is still there. The echo of the drum, the heartbeat of my ancestors, is still there, beating a rhythm of sacred sound. It is echoing from the sleeping mountains, echoing across the great waters, echoing in the forests and over the prairies. That sound will never disappear, for it is part of the earth. It is the echo of the first sound of creation, the drum of a heart beating, the drum of a life just beginning, the drum of a message you can still hear in the stillness of the night. Listen. And he goes back for commentary. How do we do religion in the Native American spiritual system? We do it by dancing, because dance is more important than dogma. Dogma separates people, while dance brings them together. Dogma-based systems open the door for hierarchy, because these systems need authorities who can settle disputes over interpretation. Dance offers different roles to different people at different times. It remains disorganized when it comes to the need for authority figures. Without religious hierarchies, abuse of the system becomes far less likely. Imagine a society in which every person is allowed the freedom to believe as they wish without penalty or compulsion. These people would expect their neighbors to have a different interpretation. That would be nothing to worry about or try to resolve. Instead, the focus would be on communal activities that gathered people around their shared hopes, and that expressed those hopes in ways that invited the whole community to participate. The fifth rung on the ladder to the light challenges us to take action, to do something together, to keep climbing. But our ability to work together has been weighed down by the demand for conformity. Organized religion has told us we must agree before we can cooperate. And because these religions have competing truth claims, the chances for agreement are small. Action grinds to a halt. Not much gets done. The disorganized religion of Native American tradition offers a different model. It tells us there is a great deal we can do together. The metaphor of sacred dance embodies that invitation. It illustrates a community engaged in spiritual action, in movement and in step with one another, even if the dancers' religion interpretations are different. The important thing is to get out on the dance ground together, to stand up and walk out into the open space between us, to acknowledge our common hopes, to learn to celebrate even in the midst of disagreement. But even if my own imagination does not do justice to the possibility, one thing is certain. If we are going to regain confidence in our spiritual systems, then we are going to have to break those systems free of the gridlock of competing truth claims. As long as we remain in our bunkers of religious dogma, refusing to find common ground, we will be mired in darkness. The alternative I suggest in this book is not syncretism. I'm not arguing for all rivers lead to the same sea theological position. In fact, just the opposite. Native American spiritual systems show that people can retain their deep convictions and practice their religious piety without interference. At the same time, they can be part of a communal system that invites and needs their participation for the welfare of the whole community, the whole tribe of the human beings. Whether that takes the form of actual dance is immaterial. The point is to put shared celebration, not competing truth claims, at the center of the religious system. These community celebrations could be designed to redirect the emphasis of our relationships away from what divides us and toward what unites us. Right now, many of our efforts at ecumenical or interreligious cooperation are struggling. These moments are often more window dressing than systemic change. They are well-intentioned but often anemic, a little like meringue on a pie. I know, I have attended many events that show a brief face of spiritual unity to the larger community, but which never penetrate the surface to effect real systemic change in our religious attitudes about one another. This must change. If we want to overcome the darkness between people of faith, we must be intentional about helping them recognize that they have more in common than what they imagine separates them. Embracing a truly inclusive spiritual system as a community means more than having a few showpiece moments when members of a religious hierarchy stand together for a photo op. It means hosting intentional gatherings for everyday people from different religious traditions to meet, share a meal, laugh, and talk together without the presence of authority figures. The fifth rung of the ladder invites us to take action. It tells us there is something unexpected we can do. We can disorganize our religions. We can set aside our disagreements to allow room for people of every faith and every walk of life to simply interact. Our isolation in religious institutions smothers our hope. That means rearranging our priorities as institutions. Serious interreligious community exchange needs to be advanced with creative options for people to meet and engage without the interpretive presence of a religious hierarchy. Would this mean putting Christians, Muslims, Hindus, and Buddhists together with no formal agenda or sanctioned leadership to guide them? Yes, it would. And give them only one agenda. Apart from sharing a meal, they should share photos of their children. Tell the funniest story about their families. Talk about their hopes for the future. 1 hour of that exercise would be worth years of theological debate about who owns the Spirit. North America's ancient wisdom shows us how to regain confidence in our religious institutions. We have faith in what we believe not by talking about it, but by practicing it with people. And not at an arm's length, but up close and personal. We eat together, we laugh together, we cry together. That is the dance of our common experience, the dance of the tribe of the human beings. If we worked hard for a generation at inventing ways for people of different religious institutions to spend time together within the time span of that generation, we would see remarkable changes. We would see less religious prejudice. We would see more open-mindedness and understanding. We would see higher levels of cooperation among the people of faith, and consequently, a greater positive impact on those hopes we all have in common. In Native America, we have never stopped dancing. Even through the darkest times, we danced. We are still dancing, and we will keep on dancing. We will do that because we respect every person's right to hold on to their most cherished beliefs. But we also respect the call of the drum, that heartbeat sound of all life, that reminder of our common humanity, to get up and move together, celebrating the strength of the people when they are united, embracing the hope of every human heart. Beautiful. Yeah, so that brings up lots of questions, I bet, for you, since we are part of an institutional religion. So I really like what he says about bringing people together and that not everybody has to believe just the same thing. In fact, it's better to have diversity. I agree with that because you get energy with difference. You really do. And inspiration. So let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. I really liked how he ended that last piece. To get up and move together, celebrating the strength of the people when they are united, embracing the hope of every human heart. Let's place our prayers and hope in that direction. Have a wonderful day.